Welcome, everybody. It is October 4th, 10/4. Ha, get it? Get it? Today, we're going to be talking about the top things that we have learned running our businesses, tips, lessons, things that helped us along the way, more after the fact than anything, but that we thought would be really helpful to share with all of you. So I am Kelly J. Parsons. I'm coming live from Savannah, Georgia. It was a beautiful morning here. The heat's breaking. It's lovely. And my lovely co-host.
I'm Laurie Baracco, and I am in Fort Myers, Florida, where it is hot again, hot and humid again. Shocker, shocker. But we do have some signs of the change of the season. So we do have our pumpkin cream things and all that stuff that remind us that it's time to change.
Right, that's how you know when you're in a warmer climate. You know, it's not really necessarily that the weather changes a lot. It's that pumpkin. Starbucks comes out with pumpkin spice. I was talking to a lady last night who was from New Hampshire, I think, and they're in the 40s already there. I know, that's so cool. That's really cool.
I bet it's beautiful there, though, this time of the year, too. Do you get the change of the seasons in Savannah at all? Do you see the leaves change at all or not?
I don't know, because this is my first winter here. I think they do turn brown and fall on some of the trees, but I don't know if it's really like a change like you would see in the mountains or like that kind of stuff.
Winter here.
But
hello. Oh my God. Hi there.
Guests. We have special guests today. That's great.
Special guest, Mary Rose.
All right, everyone. So if you have questions or comments or you like what we're saying or anything, let us know in the chat on Facebook. We're checking that throughout the whole process. We'd love to hear from you and interact. But we'll get started. I'm going to let Laurie take the first one since I've been talking. So she's going to go, and then we'll go back and forth and share some really good information.
Hopefully some useful information for those of you who are business owners currently or who are thinking about going into business for yourself. And I did want to add one thing. It's 10/4 and on 10/4, and this is episode 4.
Do that on purpose. That's great.
That is great. And 4, by the way, is a number of balance, right? Balance. And that's something definitely that as business owners, we strive to try to achieve. So both of us have said in our discussions in some of the discussions that we've had that being a business owner is being on the fast track to learning about yourself, working through your shit and having it displayed right in front of you because of the intentions you put out there and your goals and so on and so forth. It just is what it is. So the thing is, I know for myself, and I'm pretty sure Kelly would agree, I wouldn't change it because I've learned so much about myself in the process through my relationships, my goals, my fears, all of these things that possibly I do to self-sabotage.
Yeah, I always say, if you want a really good self-development course, start a business. It'll teach you everything you need to know about yourself, all your fears, all the things that you believe about the world, about yourself, about manifestation. I mean, if you really want to learn, start a business and it'll teach you whether you like it or not.
And the other side of that too is it'll also teach you what's possible and how you can, reach those goals where you thought you would never be able to get there, right? You never thought that they were possible. So you'll learn really great things about yourself as well. And Sherry does say, good morning, Sherry.
Morning, Sherry. Welcome. Yeah, I wouldn't change it for sure. For as hard as it's been in moments, the good definitely outweighs some of the more struggling points of running a business. I wouldn't trade my freedom that I have for myself in running a business for the more secure office type job or working for another company or something like that. I love my freedom too much, and I just like being the boss. I think that's just a part of who I am as a person. So I like that part, but I wouldn't change it either.
And the one thing is that, we could say the stability of a 9 to 5, but the reality is you could get fired.
Yeah.
Like that. So there really isn't a job that you're 100% secure in,
Right.
honestly. So
Yeah, I think, yeah, I agree with that. It's just a false sense of security. Like I worked for a company before I really branched out on my own completely. I worked for a company and I was making good money for them, but it only lasted 2 months because they had a hostile takeover of the company. And the guy that I was working for directly got ousted. And so they were like, yeah, we don't need you. You're fired. Like, and that was it. And it was, crazy.
yeah.
So we have a couple. So Trisha, good morning. Evie or Evie, I'm not sure how to say that, but good morning, ladies. Thanks for joining us. We're talking about the top things that we've learned in running a business that hopefully will help you learn how to do it better or just be prepared for.
Yeah.
So one of my top things, and of course, like I'm biased to this because this is part of what I do for a living, is really understanding how to market your stuff. Either that or hire someone to do it for you, because if no one knows about you, no one will buy anything from you. It's really quite simple. Marketing is really a foundational tenet of running a business. If you don't have connections with people to sell to, you're not going to be able to sell. That's just really very simple. So in today's marketing world, there's so many different outlets available, from newsletter marketing to ads on Facebook or Google to Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, all of the social media outlets, making sure your website works well. There's a lot of different things that go into that are very foundational in today's digital marketplace for selling, because people really want to, this is how they're going to find the information. And it speaks to your authority as a business owner or as a business, depending on if you're a sole proprietor or not. If you have a shitty website and you haven't posted on your social media, but it's still up and you haven't posted in 6 months, they're not going to take you seriously. That I call it a synergy sequence in today's marketing world, where you have all of these pieces that work together to create a whole picture of your business. And people will go to those different places. They may hear about you from someone and then look for you on Facebook. And then they're interested, so they'll check out your website. Like, they will vet you. People are not, they're much more considerate, I think, when they interact with businesses, especially online or anything like that. So make sure that you have your shit together when it comes to your marketing stuff. If not, you're just leaving money on the table. And there's lots of places to learn it. And if it's just really not your wheelhouse, find someone to do it for you. It's absolutely worth the money.
I agree. And a lot of people say that they don't want to be on social media. I'm going to do it old school. Well, that's not how business runs these days. Whether, like you said, whether you're comfortable with it or not, hire somebody, because that is how you're going to grow your business. Also, it doesn't even have to cost that much money. You have these resources. Facebook's free. You can run ads, but by posting on a regular basis, you're going to start reaching more people and they get to know you. It takes people a while to warm up to you. So learning how to market yourself to the right audience is huge. That's something that I'm always looking to shift to grow. And great point, Kelly.
Yeah. And yes, you can do it yourself, but just be prepared to put the work in to learn it. If you don't have the budget for it, that doesn't mean that you're off the hook from doing it.
Right.
It's fine. Like, I get it. When I first started, I didn't have any sort of extra money to spend on things. So I get a startup budget, but one way or the other, either you're going to have to learn to do it yourself or figure out how to pay someone. But just because you don't necessarily have the money does not mean you're off the hook from doing it. So it's a foundational tenet of success.
Awesome. Thank you. So one of the things that I have learned that it takes a lot more money, energy, time, blood, sweat, and tears to run that business and to keep it going than what one may realize. So whatever you're estimating, I'm going to suggest you triple it, because there are fires that pop up and nothing is set, back to nothing being set in stone. There are a lot of different things that can come up, and you must be flexible. To say that I'm only going to be working 4 hours a week, especially when you're starting out, and to have that consistently be what the norm is for you, is probably not realistic. Yes, people have done it. Yes, there are books out there, right? The 4-hour work week and so on and so forth. But for most of us, it's going to take a lot more time and energy, and also based upon the business, right? So there are going to be expenses, and if you can just, what I've learned is to overshoot my goals, right? So how long that's going to take me 5 hours, I probably need to put 8 hours down for that task and so on and so forth. So I've learned that I need to be more flexible with my expectations.
And especially true for a brick and mortar store. I have more flexibility because I work from home, so I don't have as many irons in the fire, so to speak. But a brick and mortar, as Laurie can attest, and I did have a small store in Waynesville when I lived out there, but I quickly realized how basically you're married to that place. When you're first starting, and you, especially even when you have staff, if someone calls off or anything like that, you have to show up. You have to be dedicated, which leads me to the next point that I have on my list is you have to be committed to the business long term. It can't just be a nice idea you have or sounds good, because there's going to be days, more often than you might think, that you're like, fuck this. Like, I'm not, this is just too many things, too much, I'm out. There are going to be days where you get to that and you start looking on Indeed for other jobs, or thinking about how working for someone else might look or feel. There are going to be days like that. But the thing that brings you back to still sticking with your business and realizing all of the benefits that there are with running your business is a deeper passion for it. So if you don't have that deep passion, if you're not fully committed to it long term, willing to do really whatever it takes and however much time it might take, you're setting yourself up for failure. So if you're starting a business, really think about that. Are you passionate enough to do it? And if you're in a business and you're super unhappy, maybe it's time to think about what else you might be able to do, or shift your business, the structure of it or something, so that you can get into a place where you are happy, so that that passion can keep you committed. Otherwise, it's going to cause problems with the business. Mental health, spiritual health, physical health, all of those things can really come into play if you don't have a deeper yearning, or if that deeper yearning has shifted in the process of running a business. So really keep an eye on that as you go through the day-to-day, operations, the year-to-year operations of a business. Is that, are you fully committed to it? And if the answer is no, that's really good information for you to take and really digest and think about. And like, is this for me? Is this not for me? What can I shift? Is it me? Is it my mindset? Is it the structure? Is it, what can I do to bring that passion back that it was there when I started?
And if you're not passionate, then that business isn't going to do well. We are the bottom line, right? As the business owner, you are the nucleus. And if you have other people working for you, independent contractors, that does kind of tweak some of the percentages. But if you're not happy in your business, then it's up to you to do something about it. I have counseled countless business owners to help them with the transition phase of, maybe it's time to think about selling it, right? It's time to think about talking to a business broker. And that's where only the individual, the owner, the creator of that business knows what is right for them. Nobody can tell you. You have to really dig deep, right? It's like, do I hate going to work every morning? Do I dread it? If I do, why? Right? To get to those questions, right? Like Kelly said.
Yeah, absolutely. And like for me, sometimes it's a matter of shifting the services I provide. Because over time I've picked up a lot of different types of work and I've realized as I've done this process, there's some that I really enjoy and there's some that I do not enjoy. So the ones that I don't enjoy, I either charge a lot of money for to make it worth it for me, so there's some sort of real payoff for it, or I just don't do it anymore. Or I say, yeah, that's not really my wheelhouse. Find someone else to do it for you. So it can be a shifting of what you offer too, of what actually brings you joy, so that you can maintain and sustain the passion that you have for the business.
Excellent point. Thank you. So it kind of moves into my number 2, that sometimes you have to make executive calls that are not going to make everyone happy. You have to take care of yourself first and foremost and stay true to your vision. What is your vision? How do you, what do you want? What services do you want to provide? How do you want it to look? How do you want to feel? And sometimes you shift things, you change services, you change your hours, and that may not make everyone happy. So some executive calls I've had to make are taking myself off the schedule. I might have a long waiting list for private sessions, but in the meantime, the front desk may need me. There may be people who are going on vacation, or maybe it's really busy and maybe I need to change those systems, and that may not make people happy. There may be people who want to add something to your business, and then you sit down with it and you decide, no, that's not the face or the energy of my business, and you may not make everyone happy. But the executive calls, the bottom line is the business owner, and it's up to you to make them.
Yep. Yeah. And you won't make everyone happy. That's just the nature of business.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's, I have a much smaller operation than Laurie does. So Laurie deals with the public a lot more than I do. But not every client, I'm not going to be able to make every client happy. I'm not going to be able to make every person that walks through my door the right client for me. Either their budget isn't right, or we don't have a good vibe between the two of us, or whatever. I'm not going to be able to make everyone happy. It's not about, that's not a personal thing. That's just part of the process. And sometimes we have to put our big girl panties on and make the harder decisions, because we have to, the business comes first. Like, it just is the nature of running a business. So if you're afraid of making those executive decisions, you're going to struggle. You're going to have to figure out how to do it, and how to boss up sometimes and do what you need to do. Yeah. You can do it in integrity. You don't have to be an asshole or, or anything like that. But ultimately you have to take care of your business. So the next thing I have, which I sort of learned the hard way, and I had heard it from other people and I didn't really listen, but I'm going to tell you in hopes that you listen, whoever is watching this at whatever point. Okay. Set your business up properly when it comes to a tax standpoint. So when I first started, I was a sole proprietor, and I honestly really wasn't making any money when I first started. Like, it was, I made enough to like get by, but I wasn't really making any sort of real money. So I didn't necessarily care then. But as the business grew and I started making more money, and like I was consistently increasing my income from year to year, when I was trying to buy a house this last year, I realized that in order to show enough income to get approved, which is a whole nother conversation, but in order to show enough as a sole proprietor, I basically got fucked in taxes. Like, it was astronomical to me, and I had no idea. And part of the reason that I had to pay so much in taxes to do the plan that I had inputted to get a house was because I didn't set the business up right from a tax standpoint. So that is something that I learned sort of the hard way, where I had to pay a lot more than I probably would have if I had set it up differently. So find an accountant, spend the money. It's worth it. Ask them from either an LLC or an S Corp, or as an LLC, but file as an S Corp. There's all sorts of things. I'm not an accountant, so I'm not going to tell you one way or the other, but find a good one and have them help you set it up properly. Mm-hmm. And then as the business grows, the other thing when it comes to this part is save money for taxes and pay those quarterly, whatever they require of you. Make sure you do that. Before, I wasn't doing that because honestly, I wasn't really making enough money to, which I totally understand. But as the business has grown, that's definitely something that's going to make a huge difference when it comes to tax time, because you're not going to have to come up with all of it at once, which is part of what I learned. So take this from me, find an accountant, save money for taxes, and set it up properly so you don't have to pay nearly as much as I did, mm-hmm. which I did, and it was a good learning, but I would very much like to avoid that in the future.
Mm-hmm. It's great advice. And since day one, I've had an accountant that I have filed with, because on my personal taxes years ago, that there was an error. A friend of my mom's did my taxes, and I got penalized for money I didn't know I owed, and so on and so forth. So as soon as I opened the business, I went with an accountant. And here's another thing I want to kind of piggyback on that. I completely understand when you're starting out that you may not have a profit, but you also want to think about, have the end in mind as well if you want to sell that business one day. And if you are cutting all of these corners and always showing a loss, then when you go to sell it in the end, because say you built this amazing business that brings you steady income, that it's not going to look that great on paper. So where you can, like, think about in your head, budget, how much with taxes can I afford to, do. Don't try to scrimp on all of it. That's what I'm just going to say, to have the end in mind.
Yeah, that's a really good point about especially if the long-term plan is to sell the business, being able to show really good, clean records when it comes to a tax standpoint, because that's the first thing they'll ask.
Yep.
And the first thing they're going to ask is, what's your profit loss? Like, what's your expenses? Like, where's the money going? How much is coming in? What's your biggest sellers? All of those things are going to come into play when selling a business. So if you have really good records, clean records, nice and organized and detailed, showing, a good profit loss statement, you have a much better chance of selling it for its actual value.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a great point, Laurie.
So I have an accountant and then I have a bookkeeper. So the bookkeeper does the paperwork. She knows how to categorize and put everything in there so that we can answer those questions, right? So say if I was to sell my business and I'm not showing profit or anything, looks like a mess, they would say, oh, what have you been doing for 13 years? And why are you doing this for 13 years, right? So why would I want to buy this? So and also it's nice to see that in a way. I know some people say, I don't want to pay taxes, but it's also working with the law of attraction, right? So not being kind of like holding on to it because I don't want to pay taxes, but that's stopping a flow somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
We get it. I get it. Part of our system.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So my next point is kind of a piggyback to the other one that I made. It has to do with having thick skin. So I'm a Pisces, therefore I can be a little sensitive, and I am also a people pleaser to a fault. And hearing criticism, judgment, you should be doing this one's not happy, or blah, 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 that I may internalize that. And again, I am the executive call person, making those executive calls. So do need to have thick skin if you have a business. Again, you're not going to please everybody. There will be criticism within your business and without your business. And it's really important that you keep checking in with yourself, listen to, hear what they're saying. And you get to discern, like, is that true, or is that just like way off base? Am I coming across this way, and so on and so forth. But you can't but taking everything personally is one way of really adding toxicity into your business and your self-esteem.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's well said. I don't know that I have much to add to it, but it's so true. It's so true. You have to. Absolutely. So the next one on my list, I'm going to shift a little bit, but because I sort of mentioned it before, so I'm going to add a new one that's not on the list, but that I was thinking is, make sure you make time for education, continuing your education. So for me, in the marketing world, everything changes really fast. So I'm constantly having to like catch up and be like, okay, so what are they doing now? What's Facebook algorithm doing now? What's Google doing now? What is this, and so there's always a learning process. And I'm continuing to expand that learning. One, I think it motivates me. It makes things interesting, because if I feel like I've mastered it, I'm going to get bored. So like, it's good. I'm in a good system for me, because I like that challenge, the learning new things and mastering those things. So make sure you make time for continuing education, either take online courses or go buy a book or something, or whatever it is that interests you that will help your business grow. Do that. Make sure you make time to do that. I'm trying to do it on a weekly basis, but whatever works for you and your schedule, but definitely make time for learning new things and continuing to deepen your knowledge around running a business.
So my next point kind of expands upon that, or it's linked in, but not getting too comfortable with where you are in your business for too long, right? So things may be flowing, we're doing okay. That is the time to start thinking about, okay, what's next? How can I grow as an individual, as a business owner, and as a spiritual being? So for myself, I do take business courses as well, and I always have two books going. One is a business book, and one is a personal growth book, spiritual book, helping me grow, being a better version of who I am. And that is one of the key elements that I do believe that I've learned from owning a business is being one or two steps ahead and seeing, trying to think about how can I expand upon this? What are my clients telling me? What do they need more of? And then figuring out a way to make that work, and or tuning in with the higher self, tuning in with spirit and your guides, and seeing what's coming through the pipelines. I mean, I've been inspired, Kelly's been inspired, right? And so then it's like, okay, give me the information. Let's bring that to fruition here. Let's make that a reality, right? Being divinely inspired and acting upon it.
Yeah. And I love the part about the personal development, because it's not just about continuing to deepen your knowledge of business, but the more personal development that you can do and the more things you can learn about interpersonal relationships or yourself or personal growth, the better the business will run. Because often, I mean, like Laurie said before, that you're the nucleus, you're the center of it. So the more grounded you are in that, and the deeper your understanding of those things that resonate with you, and healing old wounds or how you think about things or anything like that, will have a direct effect on the success of the business. If you're an angry ass all the time, that the business will reflect that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there's lots of studies that have shown environment and leadership skills, all of those things make a huge difference on the success of the business. So just as much as you make time to learn new business things and everything, I love that Laurie mentioned the personal development part. That's such an important piece of the bigger puzzle, for sure.
Thank you. I just had a visual of a study of the angry asshole business owner with the happy, flexible, centered Zen business owner.
Right. And we can all think that, like, we can all picture that. Like, and which one do you want to work for?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which one, you know, like,
which business do you want to support?
Yeah. Right. If I go in and like I used to work at a restaurant, and the guy that owned it was a giant asshole. He was a great chef, but he didn't know how to run a damn business, and eventually lost it. I think word on the street was he actually went to jail for like tax fraud or some crazy thing. But like nobody wanted to eat there because he was an ass and like would scream from the back of the kitchen, and then people were like, no, this is not, you know, like that's a really good example of what not to do. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, so the last one I've got is, we're going to wrap up here in a second. Don't allow your feelings of self-worth determine what you charge for your services. So this was a big lesson for me, because I had, from my past childhood and things like that, I didn't have a whole lot of self-worth. Like that was something I really had to develop for myself as an adult. I'm proud to say that I've come really far when it comes to that. I have a lot more confidence than I ever used to, but I used to allow my own perception of my self-worth determine the prices that I would charge for things. So if that resonates with you, figure out how to separate those things, because it's not necessarily true. You may be producing a really amazing product, but because you don't have the self-worth to support it, you won't charge what it's actually worth, which will cause problems not only for you personally, but also for your business. So if that's something that you're like, oh yeah, I do that, really take time to investigate that for yourself on an emotional level so that you can break those ties and really do some market research around what makes sense from a price standpoint. How much should you charge? What's the market? What's a good market rate? That kind of thing. And then make the decision from good, grounded information, not just perceptual information.
Great point, because there will be people who will try to, you know, get a bargain and so on and so forth. And this does have to do with value, the time, the energy, the education, so on and so forth, that has gone into your career.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And my last one is to think twice. I've learned about thinking twice about hiring people who are close to you. Working along someone is completely different than being friends or family. Not everyone is able to separate the two relationships. My husband is retired. He helps out, but we make sure that we don't work alongside each other all the time. That blends to that we separate those relationships. And I've learned this. I mean, I've had family members. It's hard when you got to fire your mom. I didn't really fire her anyway, but that's a close. Nicole will say I did, but I didn't. I'm not gonna say that. But anyway, but seriously, if it's taking a toll on your relationship, you really have to think about it. I have tons of great friends and family, and yet not everybody would work beautifully in that role. I have a specific mindset of how I would like that department to run, right? And not everybody is able to shift gears in business and with business and personal relationships. So I've learned that that's a big one. And I've learned, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but this has to do with clients too, right? Mm-hmm. To try to keep those healthy boundaries within your relationships with your clients, because there have been, once in a while, there's someone who fits perfectly in the role with the business, but that changes that relationship and that dynamic. So that's something to think about,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have to be really careful about boundaries when it comes to clients or people working for you. That was something that was something I learned pretty quickly and I actually put in my contract now when and how people can contact me. Because I was getting calls like all the time or after hours, because it's my cell phone usually that I use for business. So they have it and I don't think they're doing it maliciously, but without clear boundaries, they're going to do it, So I actually have in my contract now that I sign, like, this is how you can contact me. Feel free to call between 9 and 5. If you want to text between 9 and 5, you can email 24 hours a day. That's how you can contact me. Outside of that, you can make special arrangements with me, but don't assume that I'm going to answer your call at 7:00 at night. I'm not doing that. If unless I know that that's an arrangement we've made. So having boundaries around clients too is really, really important as well.
Absolutely. And they don't do it maliciously, and they don't realize that there are 10 other clients who are doing the same thing, right? So it's just healthy for all parties involved.
Yeah. And I've never had anybody get upset with me. Most of the time they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm just, and I try to be very respectful, but also institute those boundaries as needed. Like, I understand this is really important to you, but if you could hold off and keep that for regular hours as far as calling or texting me. But if you just really need to say it, feel free to email. So they still have a way to contact me and get it off their chest, so to speak, that it's still a good boundary for me to maintain. And then they totally understand. And I've never, since then, people are I'm clear about that and don't have to worry so much about it.
That's right.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, well, I think that's all of our points. Yeah,
we hit them all.
Well, that's great. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed that. That was a fun conversation for us. It's always good to look back and see actually how much you've learned. And we could probably come up with 20 more things each.
Totally. It's part 3, part 2 and 3, right?
But so I'm gonna have my cards. I'm gonna pull a card for us.
Yeah.
Laurie's gonna get one too.
From our Working Girls Oracle. Let's see.
Sorry, you're faster than I am. Hire someone. I've been getting this a lot lately. Hire someone. It's time to hire some help. It may be scary, but you are ready. Your business is growing and you're going to need extra help to get all of the work done in a timely and professional manner. Start focusing your intention on hiring the perfect someone that will assist you as you take your business into its next growth phase. Remember, you are fully supported. Put your trust in the universe and you will be provided the perfect person as well as the funds that are needed.
There you go. That's the message.
There she is.
All right. So mine is you will succeed. You are about to reach a milestone in your business. Yes. On this amazing entrepreneurial journey, there will be many achievements along the way. Don't forget to celebrate the seemingly small milestones as well as the significant ones. Acknowledging all blessings and having the attitude of gratitude are important elements to continued success. So we're about to reach a nice little milestone. Celebrate it. No matter
That
how
sounds great. Can I get an amen?
fabulous.
And a hallelujah. All right, everybody, thanks for spending some time with us today. We will be back next Friday, same time, same place. See you there. We're going to figure out what we're going to talk about at some point. We always do. I don't know. Oh, did we want to do questions? If y'all have any specific questions, let us know. Then we'd be happy to do our shows around that. We want this to be good information that people are interested in, not just us, chatting back and forth all the time. So my name is Kelly J. Parsons, coming from Savannah, Georgia. Hope you all have a fantastic weekend.
Yes, and I'm Laurie Baracco here in Fort Myers. Take care, everybody.